Hello and welcome to Planet Waves TV. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, the host of Planet Waves FM and the author of the Planet Waves horoscope column and many other things on planetwaves.net. Please do check our new website once again at planetwaves.net. Hello. It is good to be with you. It's been a little while. It's been a heck of a couple of weeks here at Planet Waves, and I thought I would check in with you on the eve of the total solar eclipse in the sign Sagittarius. That happens inside of 24 hours from now. It happens at 11:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, the 14th of December. And then this is going to be followed by first the ingress of Saturn into Aquarius, and then the ingress of Jupiter into Aquarius 2 days later, and then 2 days after that, the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the first degree of Aquarius. So that makes this coming week, the third week of December, the most pretty much the most important week of the year, and I say that in the context of a lot of things that have happened this year that have had astrology with truly unusual results and a lot of very devastating results. And what we're seeing in this sequence of events, the eclipse in Sagittarius conjunct the galactic center, and then the exit of Saturn and Jupiter from Capricorn and their conjunction in Aquarius, is the end of some phase of all that we have seen this year. I wish I could say this is all going to go away. There is no reason for it not to go away, except what is going on in the human condition right now. And that is the trouble spot. And I don't mean the human condition in terms of people who are sick. They can be taken care of. This is, whatever is going on, doctors have come a long way in the past 6 to 8 months in figuring out what to do about it. I'm really talking about the human condition of fear, the obsession with fear, and also a kind of a myopia that has taken place. Myopia meaning very short-sighted and tunnel vision kind of a view. And we will take this with us if we do not make a conscious choice to leave it behind. And we are past matters that are scientific. We are past medical matters. We are past political matters. And we look at what actually counts, what actually is going to make a difference. It is the spiritual condition of the human family, and in particular of each individual person who recognizes their choice to put their consciousness where they want it to be. So you have the choice of putting your consciousness where you want it to be. I have spent this year studying the science of this so-called pandemic situation obsessively and with tremendous help. And I've also done quite a bit of looking at and listening to and considering what people have to say and where they are coming from. And the single thing that distresses me the most is the obsession with fear, as if fear itself is some kind of a preventive, as if fear itself provides some kind of protection, as if it is a good luck amulet, and as if someone who is not afraid is inviting bad things into their life, when in truth it is very much the contrary, that you are likely to experience things on your level of density, on your vibration level, and that the lower the level of density, the more fear is involved, and the less love, and the less perspective you're able to bring to your state of mind, the more likely you are to experience everything on the level of a kind of collision or as a source of pain. And so we're at the point now where the only solution is a spiritual solution. Everything that can be said about science and medical science would seem to me is already available and is already widely circulated, whether that is the long litany of problems with the narrative of this pandemic, whether it is the completely fraudulent use of the polymerase chain reaction, whether it is medical advice that doctors are offering that is not being taken seriously, whether it is the problems with the vaccine. All of this stuff is known and understood, and it would seem that the only thing standing as a barrier to truth, barrier to accepting and understanding what is so, is this constant argumentation for and inciting of fear. This has been quite distressing to see this year, and I will say that one of the most distressing things that I have seen is people who put themselves forward as healers and as teachers. As healers and as teachers of healing have completely bought into this whole scenario in complete and, I believe, reckless disregard of their training, of their commitments, of the trust and faith that their students and clients have in them. This is not 100%. There are some people who are, I think, very well established and bona fide teachers. Sayer G is one of them. There's a few others. His wife, I forget her name, who are not buying into this obsession with fear and death and disease, and who are talking about the benefits of taking care of yourself and the benefits of keeping your state of mind in an open and relaxed place. It's just like I don't know what to do when the teachers, many of them, become the people who are spreading fear. Anyone who is trained in any form of alternative or holistic health should absolutely understand how to take care of anyone who turns out to be unwell in 2020 and in any other year. We are all trained in how to handle this. When I personally recognized the situation for what it was, the first thing I did was reach out to my healing mentors and colleagues and make sure that I was fully apprised of what to do and that I had everything I needed in the house to treat as many people as I needed to treat if that turned out to be necessary. And it turned out to not be necessary. I have barely dipped into the resources that I have built up. And this is largely because what we are experiencing as a society is an onslaught of deception and of terror. And one of the most terrifying things about this, if we construe that as terrifying, I mainly think of it as annoying, though that probably is a veil, is that to question what we are seeing is even being construed as some form of an affront to everything and everyone. To even ask questions. And I would ask anyone who has any claim to knowing the truth or believing the truth could possibly assert that to ask a question, to question this narrative, to question the media, all of which, all of the commercial, mainstream, professional media are locked into one narrative and are asking no questions at all. The lack of curiosity is appalling, but I want to know how anyone can say that to ask questions is somehow evidence of insanity or stupidity or confirmation bias or making extraordinary claims. Okay, let's let's talk a little bit about the astrology we're going to experience over the next 7 days, which is what I call threshold astrology. It is a portal into the next era. The next era lasts, as far as I can see, through 2044, because we're about to experience a migration of planets into the sign Aquarius. This happens periodically, or maybe one or two, but nothing like we are about to see has happened for a very long time. There have not been major planetary movements in Aquarius for about 8 years, and the one that came by, which was Neptune, was only noticeable in that we are getting the effects of it now, and the effects of that Neptune in Aquarius journey, I guess, which went on for about 14 years and ended in approximately 2011, 2012, was the confusion between belief and factual analysis. So anyway, we're about to embark on a new phase of Aquarian astrology. First in is Saturn. Saturn spent some time in Aquarius earlier this year during the first lockdown in the spring, then retreated back into Capricorn. Lockdown ended. Now Saturn is moving back toward Aquarius and will arrive there in a few days. And I am afraid that we are seeing more political response to this, and more choice to respond to what's supposed to be a health situation with authority, and control, so called. The ingress of these two planets into Aquarius is, let's say, being facilitated by and commemorated by, you might say, an event that takes place in Sagittarius on Monday, the 14th at 11:16 and 30 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. Please check for your time zone. This is a total solar eclipse in the sign Sagittarius. The total solar eclipse is conjunct the galactic center, the center of our spiral island in space, which is located at about 27 degrees of Sagittarius. This eclipse is taking place at 23 degrees, so it's only 4 degrees off. The galaxy is a very wide feature in the sky, and interestingly, there's another deep space point, much larger, much further away, at 14 degrees of Sagittarius, and this eclipse lands right in the middle of those 2 points. And so it is describing something much larger than we are accustomed to seeing. Sagittarius is the sign of greater things. It is the sign of larger things. It is the sign of possibilities that we cannot conceive of. It is the sign of things that are so distant they are unknown. It is the sign that physically contains the center of our galaxy and the spot at the center of our galactic supercluster called Laniakea, or Great Heaven, and that spot is called the Great Attractor. And so there is tremendous momentum in this eclipse to get us to go beyond the limited scope of seeing that we have. Humans tend to look like this at things and tend to not be able to see much beyond the end of their nose, and this is especially true when it is made all about you, and it's especially true when the main emotion involved is fear. It is very difficult to see anything beyond your fear when you are caught in your fear. And again, the issue that we have is now the attempt to make fear mandatory. This is not cool. This is not a good idea, because once fear is mandatory and no other emotion is considered socially acceptable, and in fact anything other than fear is considered crazy, well, what else do you have? Where at that point can rational thinking, the actual respect of scientific facts, the analysis of medical issues, the understanding of what may make a person sick on any day of the week, at a certain point there has to be someone who's not afraid entering that picture, who is able to provide a more objective, rational analysis. And fear is entirely subjective, and it is completely irrational because it does not have the ability to reason. It is the very essence of irrationality. And what we are now experiencing the meeting of is a solar eclipse that is inviting a mind-opening experience into Sagittarius, a spiritual opening experience, a soulful opening experience into Sagittarius, where there are much greater possibilities than we ever dreamed possible. However, that is confronting an extremely dense layer of fear, of fragments, of wreckage of thought and wreckage of institutions, and really the wreckage of literacy. And all of that is represented by these planets in the very last degree of Capricorn, and then also by Pluto about now to cross the last degrees of Capricorn over the next 2 years or so. So once Jupiter and Saturn leave Capricorn, this takes place on the 17th and the 19th, respectively. Saturn first, and then Jupiter second. We're still left with some residual material in Capricorn, but we move forward into this new era. And my, let's say, proposal or suggestion is that we stand honestly at the face of the unknown. The face of the unknown represented by this eclipse in Sagittarius, conjunct basically close to the midpoint of the galactic center and the great attractor. The challenge, though, is when that eclipse veil opens up, it is and reveals what is beyond it, which is what an eclipse does. And the eclipse is lined up with these deep space points that I consider to be spiritual homing signals in Sagittarius. When that veil opens up, it is likely to present many sensitive people with more than they think they can handle. It's a little like the David Bowie line about the starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our mind, so he just stays up there on the mothership and doesn't come down, because humans tend to have very narrow perspectives, and many tend to like it that way, because when your perspective is narrow, you don't really have to do much. You don't have to expand your consciousness at all, and more than that, change the basis of your decision making, shift your orientation on your cosmology. And that's what this eclipse is calling us to do. It is calling us to take a wider view of the world, but also for a moment to stand face to face with the unknown, to admit all that we do not know, to admit that we don't really know where we are right now, except to say, oh, well, we're, halfway out, kind of on the edge of one of the galactic arms, 25,000 years from the core, and we're also we're on the outer fringe of the great attractor and the Laniakea, great heaven, and we're so many megaparsecs away from that. It doesn't mean anything. We don't know where we are, and we have very little information about what we're doing here. But it can be that we fill in those blanks, that we fill in those unknowns with all kinds of constructions, of rationales, of fear, of negative expectations, and various other tools of the trade of oppression that essentially convince us that the only safe option is to pull in, shut down, and live in a stupor. And it is in that state of mind that reason and logic and what are in reality grounded, sensible questions can seem like some form of blasphemy, or worse, a direct personal attack. And so, wherever you may stand, I mean, I recognize I'm speaking to people in many different states of mind. I would encourage you to open your mind up, to open your soul to the influences that are coming in, and to allow yourself a moment to look beyond the scrim, to look beyond the veil, and to think of a future that is a better future than something that is just simply defined by a fear reaction where we simply invite our lives to be destroyed and controlled by something that we are told is outside of our ability to handle. And I assure you that even if this so-called pandemic is absolutely real and there is actually a virus, it is certainly not beyond our ability to handle it. The human race has handled much more serious problems in the past. Any legitimate healer has handled many problems like the one that they are sometimes seeing now. And so it would seem as if there are a great many people who have to who need to go beyond fear and despair and hopelessness as an end in themselves. And there's a purpose that these things serve. Any therapist, any well-trained, experienced therapist can tell you that closed-mindedness and fear serve a purpose, which is to isolate a person from the need to grow, from the need to take a chance, from the need to expand, and I think more than anything, from the need to admit vulnerability. I would suggest anyone who is afraid of COVID and afraid of killing grandma make peace with the fact that we all die. Every living thing on this planet dies, and ultimately the sun is going to blow up and fry everything that is left. And we might want to just, sit with that for a moment and recognize that that is true, and that on any given day there are all kinds of other seeming threats, and we don't really worry about them very much. We don't fret and fear and make all these crazy and irrational decisions. We don't generally ever worry about illnesses and viruses. Where was everyone last year when there might have been somebody with hepatitis A making your sandwiches in Subway who could give every customer hepatitis A, allegedly, in a couple of hours, working one shift? I mean, where is that? And so I think that what we're experiencing now is the direct manifestation of a kind of a short-sightedness that the eclipse in Sagittarius is calling us to look beyond, and to accept the fact that if you look beyond your own short-sightedness and your own fear, you are going to change. Your mind is going to expand. And that part of the learning process and part of the growth process means admitting when you were wrong and moving on and working with better information and a better understanding, rather than clinging to the old understanding, clinging to the old claims and the old information as if they were the only thing that was true. So meanwhile, from a purely practical standpoint, this is likely to come in quite strong tomorrow. The moon is at the moment in Sagittarius at the moment that I'm recording. Mercury is involved in this aspect as well. Mercury is right there. And I would note that this whole thing is happening square the planet Neptune, and with Mercury in particular square Neptune. And with Mercury square Neptune, the most important thing to address and analyze is self-deception, denial, delusion. Not a lot of people like to do this. Self-deception, denial, and delusion are in many ways the mainstay of a personality when people are essentially stuck in a sick culture and are trying to merely adapt to that sick culture rather than find their personal way through it, their personal angle on growth, and then also to contribute in some collective way. And we have that opportunity now. And I would say for anyone who is experiencing abject fear, do something about it. Learn something about your situation. Learn something about the wider context of what is happening. You can also do something very practical. Learn how to take care of sick people. I hear next to nothing about this except from a few doctors and nurses who are speaking up. But most people who need help of some kind are nowhere near a hospital. Assuming all of this is real, if that is where you're coming from, learn how to take care of sick people. You'll feel better. You might take place in the street sweeping event in the spring or the recycling drive, but now we're being told that there's a health condition, and I assure you there are a lot of health conditions on the planet. You most likely can do a lot better job of taking care of your health and your well-being, whether we're talking psychic or emotional, nutritional, physical, all are closely related. And I assure you there are people around you who need your loving support and attention, and that loving support and attention has nothing to do with fear. It has nothing to do with shaming people. It is all about opening your heart and doing what you can do to be of service in this world, to act dharmically, to act as if to hold the world together. And I can think of no better way to summarize the experience of this opening, this glorious pulling back of the veil in Sagittarius, and then the two largest planets, really, each one is a miniature solar system, both moving into the first sign that is associated with some form of collective reality, that being Aquarius. All right, thank you for listening. There's much more at planetwaves.net. If you go to Daily Planets, I've begun my kind of wrap-up of this event. Once again, planetwaves.net, and then you go to Daily Planets. We continue to update COVID-19 news every day at planetwaves.net. That's also up in the top right-hand corner. And there is a beautiful new edition of Planet Waves FM, also linked from planetwaves.net. Please remember that the entire Planet Waves project is commercial-free, advertising-free, free of corporate sponsors, sponsored entirely by you, my readers, and my viewers. So if you have found comfort and solace and information and empowerment in the work that I have done this year, and you can afford to do so, please get a core community subscription to Planet Waves. It's very inexpensive, very effective, and goes a long way toward helping me pay the staff and cover the costs of this professional news gathering operation. All right. Thank you for watching. I will try to be back again sooner. Thank you, Kate Rizhenko in the Ukraine, for producing this video on short notice and late at night your time with school tomorrow. And thank you for watching, and bye for now.